I want to talk about a couple of things today. Two things, really. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship and building businesses, what that takes to achieve growth. And then we're going to talk about the topic that you were just talking about, Iga, which is about philanthropy and giving back and serving. So here's what ties those things together. Entrepreneurship, in fact, I don't even like the word entrepreneurship anymore, and I will tell you why. Most people around the world, and just to give you an idea of GEN, of a global entrepreneurship network, we have a very simple mission, which is to teach anybody, anywhere, how to launch and grow a business. But the reason we do this is to teach people how to help themselves, okay? There are people all over the world, and you know, Jennifer and I talk about this a lot. We may look different in different countries around the world, but we are not different, right? In the end, we are all God's children. We are all one big family. And guess what? We are all trying to achieve the same thing, to get along, to do the best we can, to take care of our families, to improve our country, take care of the people we love. We're all doing the same thing. So there should be a way for us to help each other do that, to help people help themselves. That's why we created the Global Entrepreneurship Network. Today, we are on the ground in 200 countries. And we're proud to have our team here running Gen Uganda and our partnership with Enterprise Uganda and everybody else that's in the room here. We run programs, as was mentioned earlier, Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is up here over there, because we want people to understand that entrepreneurship is not a job, it's a mindset, okay? Entrepreneurship is the mindset of saying, instead of complaining about the way things are, I'm just going to be the person to fix them. We are trying to get more people to stop complaining, to stop waiting for the government, and just fix it yourself. You understand the problem, you live with it, and you're intelligent, so why don't you fix it? The answer to that question is that most people don't. I hear this all over the world, all the time, including from numerous Ugandan entrepreneurs that I've worked with. And what people say is, I have an idea. I have an idea, I just don't know where to start, okay? And so providing resources, opportunity, education, mentorship, teaching people the skills of entrepreneurship is what enables people to make things better wherever they live. And so that's why we created this. Global Entrepreneurship Week is a week, once a year, in 1 week, we ask people all over the world to celebrate the importance of entrepreneurs. We fundamentally believe that entrepreneurs are the people who solve some of the world's biggest problems. We need government as partners. We need banks as partners. We need universities as partners. We need investors, all of that. But at the root of it, it's innovative entrepreneurs that have come up with some of the world's best solutions. Why? Because they can move faster than governments can. They don't have all the same process to go through, right? We all want the same thing, but entrepreneurs can get there fast. In fact, entrepreneurs have to get there fast because they're usually starving. Most of the time in the entrepreneurship, if we don't create something and sell, we don't eat. So we have to get it done, right? So teaching entrepreneurs, teaching people the mindset of problem solving and the skill set of entrepreneurship is why we're here. Give you an example of Global Entrepreneurship Week, we just asked people wherever you live to celebrate entrepreneurship in any way you want during this 1 week a year. Host a party, have a speaker, do a pitch competition, have some mentoring meetings, whatever you want to do. And last year, across our 200 countries, during that week, there were 40,000 entrepreneurship events across the world, and 10 million people attended our events. So on behalf of my organization, I want to thank Global Entrepreneurship Week Uganda, because you guys got a lot of people involved here. So what I started by saying is, I don't like the word, thank you guys very much, thank you, not us. I don't like the word entrepreneurship because when I ask people, especially young people, and while we've been here, we've spent a lot of time with Ugandan youth. When I ask them, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Most people don't even know what that word means really, right? I can't even spell that word, and it's the thing I do for a living. So when you ask them that, and you know what else turns people off? In my country, entrepreneurship, they make it all about tech, right? So if you ask somebody, name a famous entrepreneur in the United States, every one of them is technology. And yet, that's only one field. We need entrepreneurs producing more food, right? Working on infrastructure problems, working on distributive education. It's way bigger than technology. We need entrepreneurs in every single field. So instead of entrepreneurship, if I could rename it, I would name it self-determination, okay? If I ask any young people, but I've asked people here in this country, do you want to be an entrepreneur? They're scared of that. They don't really know what it means. But if I ask a young Ugandan, would you like to design the future of Uganda and would you like to make your own future better? Every one of them says yes. So that's what this is about. Being an entrepreneur is about being the person that solves the problems that makes things better in the world. So when we're presenting entrepreneurship to people in this country or anywhere else, the question we should ask, instead of do you want to be an entrepreneur, is would you like to design the future of Uganda? Because if you would, go for it. That's your opportunity, it's your country, it's your future. That's why I became an entrepreneur, right? The way that I grew up with a single mother who had 4 children and 3 jobs, I didn't love the life that I had. But what I decided was, I'll just create the one that I want, okay? As Iga said earlier about if it's not okay now, it needs to be okay 10 years from now. What we want entrepreneurs to say, to understand is, it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter where you've been the whole life up till yesterday. All that matters is what you do next. Every morning that the sun rises again, you get another chance to make things better. And believe me, even the children we talk to have ideas about a better future and a life that they want to live. We just need to teach them the skill set so they can turn those ideas into actual products and services and make things better. And it's one of the problems that sometimes that I'm almost embarrassed to be American is because Americans sometimes have this ethnocentric belief that maybe because there's so many famous companies from America that maybe people there are smarter than other people, which is, of course, ridiculous. The truth is that intelligence is equally spread across the entire human race, but opportunity is not. So why are we in your country? To try to create more opportunities and more resources for your entrepreneurs and your youth. We don't want them to leave the country. We want them to fix things here and make things better here. So that's what we were doing here. So let's take a few minutes and let's talk about what it takes to grow a company. I agreed to share, and we talked about that at the beginning here, to share some notes on that. So by way of background, like I told you, I grew up with nothing. We grew up poor. But I had a belief that instead of waiting to see what the future would bring, that maybe I could just create it. And so that's how I became a, quote, entrepreneur. Because I said, I'll just fix the things I can so I can take care of my mother. In fact, the first thing that caused me to become entrepreneurial was I wanted to play sports and I didn't have the shoes. And my mother was already working many jobs and very stressed out. So I asked myself, is there something I could do that would create value for someone else so that they would pay me so that I could buy the shoes myself and not ask my mother? That's what entrepreneurship really is about, right? And so that was kind of the start for me. But since then, I've been blessed. I've been doing this. By the way, by trade, I'm an engineer. That's what I studied in university. I went to a excuse me, a university that I could not afford. And when I got there, I went to a university in the United States called Yale University. And when I got to Yale, they asked me to go home. And they pretty much said, you don't have any money and this school is very expensive. And they said, you can't go here, which is fair. You can't go in a restaurant, eat a steak dinner, and then say, oh, thanks for the steak, I don't have any money, okay? So I wasn't mad at the school, I was a little mad at the world, right? But what I said was, I'm not going home. I don't even have money to get home, right? I can't even take a bus. I'm gonna figure out a way to get the degree that I want to get. So I started a company, and I started asking this question. I'm gonna keep repeating this. What can I do for other people that is so valuable to them that they will give me money so that I can take the money to get the thing I want? It's not about the money. I want a diploma. I didn't dream about having money. I dreamed about getting this degree. In sports, I didn't really dream about the money. I dreamed about having the right shoes so I could play on the team. So having a purpose and a passion for something. In fact, I will tell you that people who are driven by passion and purpose will far outperform people that are driven by paycheck, right? All of you, when you're hiring people, keep that in mind. When you ask people in an interview why they want to work here, and if the discussion is about the salary and the title, you already don't have the best people. When their answer is, because I'm trying to take care of my mother, that's a far better employee, far more motivated human being that has a passion and a purpose and entrepreneurship. So I had big plans for my life. By the way, my big plan was, I'm this poor kid in the middle of nowhere, but I'm gonna go see the world. All I wanted to do was travel. And everybody said to me, dude, you have no money and your mother has less money, you're not going anywhere. Just go get a job, right? And I really wanted to travel and see the world. So that's what caused me to start creating companies in travel, right? Booking.com is a travel company. In the US before that, it was called Priceline.com. It still is in the US. We were creating companies that would give us the chance to live the life that we wanted to live and to do the things that we wanted to do. But along the way doing that, I've learned a lot about what it takes to launch and grow a company. So I'm going to share a couple of those things today. By the way, part of the reason I do this is because in the early days, nobody mentored me. I would sit there and think, the thing that I want to do, somebody already knows how to do this. Why can't they help me? Why won't someone tell me what to do? And the mistake I'm about to make, somebody already made it. Why don't they tell me so I don't make that mistake over and over again? And so lacking mentorship is the reason that we do so much mentoring today. And the Ugandan entrepreneurs I work with that do Zoom calls with me to help grow their business, it's because I know what it's like to have nobody help you. And you know your idea is right, you just don't know how to build it. And so that was the, again, that's why we do the mentoring that we do now. Along the way, we created a number of companies, and some failed. I had some really stupid ideas, and they failed. But then we had some good ones. And little by little, we learned, made mistakes, and eventually figured out what it takes to grow companies. So in the end, 3 of the companies we created became global companies and became multi-billion-dollar companies. So after that, the question people kept asking me was, what worked to take a company global and to grow a company to achieve that accelerated growth? What worked? And so for me, I didn't know any of that when I was doing it, but looking backwards now that I'm older, I can go back and study what we did and tell you the things that worked. So that's what I'm about to share. I am not a teacher, I'm an engineer. I'm not actually a professional speaker, I've never had any training. I'm just an engineer that created stuff to solve problems. So what I can tell you about the things I'm about to share with you is only one fundamental truth. This is what worked. This is how we actually did it. So that's what I'm about to share with you, a couple of those things. So here's the first one. To achieve accelerated, we call it explosive growth. I don't care what industry you're in, what business, if you're trying to achieve explosive growth, remember this. I'm answering the question, how do you take a business from small to big, to go global? The target, by the way, we never had a target. Today, they all talk about unicorns. Let's go create $1 billion business. We never said that, right? But we wound up creating a $100 billion business. So somewhere along the way, the lessons we learned were the ones that it takes to grow a company. So I'm sharing that with you. And by the way, a lot of what I'm sharing with you, I learned from other people as well. So the question we're answering is, how do I go global? How do I go big, really big? If that's not your goal, you don't have to listen to anything else that I say. Okay, because you're not going to agree. Sometimes I tell things to people, like the discussion we just had, that they don't want to hear. But it's the right answer. It's the answer to going global. So if you're happy with the size of your company and all the things you're doing and you have a great life, don't listen to this. This is for people that are trying to achieve the big kind of growth like we did. Potentially global or achieve explosive growth. So here is the first lesson that I want to share with you. The answer to growth is not funding, it's talent. It's not a funding game, it's a talent game. The companies that became the world's best company did not do that because they had money that you don't. They did that because they had talent that you don't. We have studied this over and over again around the world. What happens too frequently, when companies fail, I say, what happened? And they say, we ran out of money. And you know what I say? No, you didn't. You ran out of ideas. If you had good ideas and smart people, you would be making money. So don't use the money as an excuse. You didn't run out of money. You ran out of innovation and smart people and smart ideas. The most valuable resource in the world is not financial capital. It's human capital. Okay? I think when somebody asks, why did you guys win more than one time? The answer is, well, I would look around the offices, the chairs in my office, and I would say, because all the best people in the industry work right here in this building, right? If you think about this, if you give a whole bunch of funding to average people, guess what happens? December comes and they call you, Mr. Hoffman, we need more money. What happened to the money I gave you? Well, it's gone, right? You cannot build greatness on the backs of average people. So quit thinking that strategy is going to work. It isn't the money, it's the talent. That's what happens if you give a lot of money to average people. But guess what happens if you give a little bit of money to rock stars? You come back, and I had this happen. And I said, how did you guys create this? I didn't give you any money. And they said, yeah, we figured out how to do it without money as much as we could. People that are overfunded get really comfortable and they stop creating. Rock star people look at it and say, well, we don't have enough money, so let's figure something else out. Rock stars are the key to success. Building a team. So what I learned was this, that real leaders don't create followers. Real leaders create other leaders. But no one told me that. I thought my job, I'm the CEO. If it's a family business, you're the owner of the business. This is my company. This was my idea. So I can tell you a day that my daughter one day asked me, she said, are you the boss at work? And I said, yes. Why? And she said, what do you do all day? And I said, what do you think a boss does all day? And she said, you just walk around and tell everybody else what to do. Well, that's kind of what we think leadership is. The leader is the person we all follow because they stand there and tell us what to do. I had no success being that kind of leader. My success came when I became a servant leader. My success came when I understood that my real job description was not to run the business every day. It was to run the business sometime, but to dedicate a portion of my time surrounding myself with people smarter than me, okay? Your job is to surround yourself with people smarter than you and then serve them. You want to build the company where all the best people in the industry all want to work for you and never want to leave. I sold one of my companies, and I was doing a television interview. And the reporter said, Mr. Hoffman, your revenues, your profits, your margins, all the money you made, impressive accomplishments. What are you most proud of? And what I told her was, the day that I was driving to the TV studio to do the interview, the woman that ran human resources for me, she called me and said, Jeff, I just figured something out and I'm really excited. And I said, what? And she said, from the day you started this company, across all those years till the day you sold it, she said, nobody that worked for you has ever quit. And I said, that's the most important thing I've ever done, and I don't even know how I did that. Thank you. I started calling my employees. I said, why don't you quit? And they're like, is there a problem? Do you want us to quit? I said, no, I just don't understand why no one ever leaves here. And I said, can you tell me what I was doing right so I can do it on purpose next time? And you know what I found out? They said, we never want to leave here because we think you think that you work for us, not that we work for you. That was an important lesson for me. When I turned to the servant leadership model, and I spent more of, I would tell my people some days, I would say, don't ask me any questions because he's way smarter than me, and that's why I hired him. And people would say, but you're the boss, you're the CEO, you're the owner, you should know everything that's going on. And when people tell me that, I say that's exactly why my business is growing really fast and yours isn't, because you're in the way, okay? Until you can trust people, empower them, and let people smarter than you run pieces of your business, you will never grow. You're in the way and you are slowing it down. And you know what people tell me in many countries? They say, oh, it's really hard to trust people in this country. And I say, whoa, thank you for telling me that, because 5 minutes ago I trusted you. And then they said, oh, well, you can trust me. I said, oh, wait, that's confusing, because you just told me I can't trust people here. But you're asking me to trust you. Which is it? And the answer is, of course there are people you can trust. But you know what? They're harder to find, so guess what you have to do? You have to try harder, right? I have this thing written on my wall where I wrote down that everybody wants to be successful just till they find out what it takes. People say, I want to be successful like you. And I say, okay, here's all the work you have to do. And they say, oh, that looks really hard. I don't want to do that. Is it hard to find people to trust? Yes. So you know what? I always tell people, try harder. I leave my office. I told you that rock stars are the key to success. By the way, the reason that people don't hire rock stars is I'll tell them, you need an operations person. Go hire a rock star. And he'll go talk to 4 people. And 3 of them are average salaries, average monthly price. But the rock star, she costs 2 times more. She wants twice the money. So you know what he'll tell me? He'll say, I can't afford Jennifer. She's too expensive. So you know what you guys do? Instead of hiring 1 rock star, you take the same money and you hire 3 average people, and you wonder why you're not achieving amazing results. So you know what I tell people? If you really want to grow, take the same money, I'm not telling you to spend more, and hire 1 rock star instead of 3 average people. That's what I see all the time. So my companies, I spent the same amount of money, but I spent it on less people, because the person that no one would hire because she cost twice as much outperformed the 3 average people. Does that make sense to everybody? So focus on rock stars. You have them here in Uganda. I've met many of them. We run something called the Entrepreneurship World Cup. It's a giant Shark Tank, Lion's Den pitch competition, and you've had some incredible Ugandan entrepreneurs and startups that have come into our pitch competition. These people are rock stars. They're here. They cost more money than average people, but once you get them, that's why when people say to me, can you explain this to me? I say, no, you got to go ask her. And they're like, don't you own the company? I said, look, I was at least smart enough to know she's smarter than me, and I get out of her way unless she needs something. Until you can trust and empower and get out of the way, you can't grow. The key to success is a servant leadership model where you are finding people smarter than you. And one other thing about that, people say, how do you find rock stars? Guess what? They're not looking for a job. Most of the people looking for a job are people who lost their job or don't have one. Rock stars don't need a job. They're already working, right? And so rock stars don't come to you. So you know what I do some days? I used to go at least one Friday a month. I would tell my team, don't call me today because I'm not going to be here. You guys figure things out. I'm hunting for talent. I go to places. One time I needed someone to run HR for me. And so I asked people, where do human resources people hang out? And there's this thing in the US called SHRM. And I was like, what does that word mean? They said, it's not a word. It's an acronym. It's the Society of Human Resource Managers. So I went to its website, and on the website it said, don't forget to buy a ticket to this year's conference. And so I bought a ticket, and I went to the conference, and there were 1,000 human resources people. And all their badges were green, which means you work in human resources. My badge was red because I don't know anything about human resources. I'm just a CEO. And I went out on the floor, and there were 1,000 of them. And they said, why is your badge red? I said, because I don't work in human resources. And they said, then why would you be at the human resources conference? And I said, because there's 1,000 of you and one of me, and somebody's coming home with me before I get on that plane. That is where I found the woman that ran human resources for 4 of my companies, because I went out and hunted her down. By the way, you know how I found her? She was on stage at lunch accepting the award for the best human resources manager in the country that year. So my job was to convince her to come. So that's the first piece, that talent is the key to success. Rock stars are how you build it, but you have to serve them, right? There were times where I would have employees. I had an employee, just quickly before I move to the other topic, that said to me one day, by the way, my team, I was traveling, and my team met this 20-year-old genius. And they called me. I said, just hire him. You don't need my permission. They said, Jeff, he's a genius. So we hired the 20-year-old genius. I was traveling, and I came back home, and he didn't know who I was. The kid did not know I owned the company. He did not know I'm the CEO, right? I spent the morning looking at his work. And at lunchtime, I went down the hall to the conference room, and the genius and a bunch of people were working in the conference room. And I said, you guys aren't going to lunch? They said, we're busy. I said, then let me buy you lunch. But what I said was, can I get something for you? The 20-year-old new kid looked over his shoulder. He doesn't know I'm the owner. He doesn't know I'm the CEO or anything. And he said, I'm really busy. Could you go pick up my laundry? Well, you can imagine in the room, all the air went out of the room, right? I told people it's like in a war movie when a soldier steps on a landmine and it goes click, and everyone's like, uh-oh, we know what happens next. That soldier's going to blow up. They're all looking at me. What is Jeff going to say? And I said, sure, where's the ticket? And this kid said, it's on my chair. And so a little while later, I was outside, and my 2 vice presidents come running out. Jeff, please don't fire him. Please don't fire him. He didn't know who you were. It was a mistake. He doesn't know. I said, calm down. So what's the problem? They said, we don't want you to fire this kid. And I said, why do you think I'm going to fire him? And they said, because you're so upset. And I said, why do you guys think I'm so upset? And they said, because you stormed out of the building. And I said, I didn't storm out of the building. I didn't walk angry out of the building. They said, then why are you outside? I said, I'm going to the laundry to pick up this kid's clothes. And they said, you're picking up the 20-year-old kid's clothes? I said, that kid is the most brilliant genius I've ever seen. The product he's designing right now will triple the size of my company. And I said, so not only am I going to go pick up that kid's laundry, but if you guys need me after lunch, I will be outside washing that kid's car. Okay? That is what I learned about leadership. Now I'm going to share one other thing with you, and then I want to talk about the philanthropy part of why we do what we do. The other thing, and this is the part you and I were talking about, the other thing that's important when you look at the companies that achieved the fastest, the explosive growth and went global, is that they won a gold medal at something. And let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of people believe that either owning multiple businesses, right? We own 4 businesses, so that gives us 4 different revenue channels. Or you're one company, but you have 4 different products. So trying to be too many things at once is not the path to the companies that grew. I'm going to give you some examples. People forget that Amazon, for 7 years, they only sold books. And back then, at the beginning of the internet, there weren't very many of us. So we used to talk all the time. So I used to ask Jeff Bezos, what's the plan? He said, one day, Amazon will sell all kinds of things. And he said, but right now, I want to be the best darn bookseller on the planet. So for 7 years, he picked his gold medal. What is the product or service or a company? And every one of you know this in your heart. What is your gold medal? What product do you have that you know you're best at and you can beat everyone else? And so he said, nothing but books until I'm a recognized leader, right? And you know what happened to the rest of us in the world? We begged him to take our money. Dear Amazon, please let me buy something else besides a book. How would you like to have that problem? Instead of pushing a product to people, they're pulling on you to get another one. So you know what we did? We were selling hotel rooms. We were selling cruises. We were selling vacations. So I went back and asked my team, the same thing I'm challenging you to do. If we were going to pick our gold medal product or service or business, what's our gold medal? And everyone said, Jeff, it's not cruises. We're just another cruise company, to be honest. Look in the mirror. What about vacations? We're not even very good at that. Some of our competitors, we know they're better. And then I said, what about hotels? And they said, nobody can do hotels like us. That's our gold medal product. So you know what we did? This is really hard to do. People ask me, will you help my business grow? And you know what I tell them sometimes? First, I have to shrink it because you're doing too many things. You're average at 3 things, and you got 1 thing's your gold medal. So the decision we made was, instead of selling cruises, vacations, hotel rooms, etc., right, to have multiple revenue streams, the conventional wisdom people told you. But then I studied all the companies that got really big growth. Amazon only sold books. I met the founder of Nike. He only sold those running shoes for years before he added clothing. On and on. There's a company in the US that was called Zappos. He also, all of these companies, we could just go down a long list of companies that achieved their massive size by having a gold medal product. So what I'm going to tell you is, be the best something in the world. So we went back and we said, we're average. Do we make extra money from cruises? Yes. Do we make extra money from vacations? Yes. But what if I took all my marketing money, what if I took all my brain and I took all my people and we put it all on hotels? And so guess what happened? We got rid of our other businesses. We put everything on hotels, because that's the thing, is our gold medal, and we are now the world's largest seller of hotel rooms. The company sells $20 billion a year is the revenue. Not even the gross profit, the net profit is $3.3 billion a year, and the company only has 1 product. So trying to be the one-stop shop and the solution to everybody for everything is not how you might make it. But all the companies that I've studied, if you go and look at them, that went global and went really big, they did that from a gold medal product. Later, when you get there, you can expand. What Jeff Bezos did with Amazon, say, now that we're the best in the world at books, I want to sell you a book and I want to sell you 10 other things. We did something different when you get to that point. We said, now that I'm the best gold medalist at hotel rooms, I just want to sell everyone in this entire room a hotel room. So we now sell them in 190 different countries. Still only 1 product that Booking.com sells. You don't need to solve all of everybody's problems. You need to be the best, a recognized leader in something. So ask yourself the honest question. And the same, we have the 3 banks in here, right? Some banks, when I started studying the growth of some of them, they didn't grow by having 17 products. Later, when they're mature and of a certain size, they do, but they had this 1 gold medal product that drew everybody to their bank. There's an auto parts store in the US that's called Pep Boys. You know what? There's tons of auto parts stores. So why did people go to Pep Boys? Because they were the only store that catered to women. Every other store was intimidating to women if you went in to buy auto parts. Pep Boys picked one differentiating thing. Their gold medal is, we talk nicely to women about their cars. That was it. They suddenly had 750 stores because they picked the thing the horse they were gonna ride in the race. So I just wanted to share a couple of tips today about growth. But now I want to talk about, if it's okay, talk about the philanthropic part. Why do we do this? Why do we work this hard? Why do we endure this stress, right? We put our financial lives at risk. We're very busy, which is harmful to our family life, right? Frequently, working really hard is harmful to our health. So we take a lot of risk to be, quote, successful. But I'm going to ask you this, what for, right? Why are you really doing all this? And by the way, no one's pretending that money doesn't matter and making money, and no one is saying that having nice things doesn't count. We want to live in a nice home. We want to have a nice life. But there's a limit. There's a part where you get to a point and you say, okay, now I have more than I ever dreamed of, more than I ever deserved, right? And so we ask, why are we doing this? And I will tell you this, we made a decision that when it's all over at your funeral, do you want people to walk up and say, whoa, she had a really nice house, that's it? You spent all this time you were given on earth so people can say she had a nice house, she made a lot of money. Is that what you want to be judged by? So I spent a lot of time thinking about this. And I realized that success isn't the destination. Success is the platform that allows you to finally do something that counts. So you know what counts? Jennifer and I were talking about this. I get to do a lot of interesting stuff in my life. I literally get called by kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers of countries. And we go into palaces and we sit and have dinner. And people think that must be really cool. But you know what memory completely filled our hearts and that we can't stop talking about despite the other stuff? I was in Spain recently and the king wanted to meet with me. And I went to the palace and talked to the king about the economic future of Spain. That's not what was cool. What was cool was sitting in the dirt with 100 children yesterday, all Ugandan children climbing all over us, just wanting to be hugged because they don't have parents. Just wanting somebody to love them and care about them. And we were so emotional we could barely speak at the end of the day. In the end, I think all of us should want to be judged not by the number of dollars you made, but by the number of other people's lives you made better, okay? So, where's the connection? By the way, the very first time that I found this out, I was actually feeling bad because we had built companies and made millions of dollars and things were going great for me, right? And you drive down the road here, we've been doing that, we've been driving a lot in Uganda, and you see the way other people are living. And I was feeling bad. It's not fair, right? I'm living really well and all these people are struggling and every day is stressed for them. And I was feeling bad. But what happened was there was a problem just very quickly. It was a home for abused women. It was a place for them to go to be safe. And they ran out of money and the bank was taking the house, which they have every right to. They weren't paying their mortgage, okay? The bank was taking the house and the woman either had to go back to the abusive man or live on the street somewhere. And I was watching this moment and I said something every one of you have said in your life. They should help those women. Man, they should do something. They can't kick those women on the street. They should help those women. And then I realized something. If every single one of us that sees a problem, you're driving down the street and you say they should feed those kids. They should help those women. If we're all saying that, who's helping? Nobody, because we're all saying they should help it. So I got up and I wrote something on the board that day. I wrote down, there is no they, it's me, and it's you. They aren't going to feed those kids. So you know what? We're here feeding them. There's no they, guys, it's us. It's your country, it's your youth, it's your future. There's no they. Quit saying, I was guilty of this, they should help those children. So that's how I made the connection. Because the day I wanted to help those women, I suddenly realized, wait a minute, the money that I made, that I was feeling bad about a few minutes ago, thank God that I work really hard, take care of people, and know how to run a business. Because I can take my profits and I can go buy the house and take care of all those women so that they're safe. And that's when I realized there is no shame in life in making money. The shame in life is in not using it to help others. And once you realize, thank you, that your success, By the way, those women were on the news. I did this anonymously because I didn't want the story to be about me. I wanted it to be about our society taking care of its women. So I did this anonymously. I didn't tell anybody who I was or where the money came from. And they were asking on the news that night, they asked the women, what happened? And this woman said, it's a miracle. Some mysterious man paid for the house and is taking care of our future, right? And I turned and I wrote something else on the wall because I thought it's not a miracle. I'm just a hard worker, right? There's no miracle there. I work hard and I run good businesses. I make money and I can help people out. So I wrote something else on the wall. Your success is someone else's miracle. And I want you to think about that. We've seen a lot of companies as we travel around the world that wrote that on their wall after we said that. Your success is someone else's miracle. The better my business runs, the more profits I make, the more miracles that I am allowed to create in the world. That is why we want you to be successful in business. That is why we travel around the world to help people run businesses, because my hope is the more money you make, the more lives that you will change. So I'll end by telling you, you heard a story of a young man, an orphan himself, here in Uganda that decided to raise 50-something pretty much abandoned children. Here, Robert, would you please stand up? He's with us here tonight. This is Robert. Robert, instead of having his own life, he could go off and create his own life and do whatever he wants. He could start his own family. But Robert said there was now we're up to 55, right? About 100, what did we decide today? 102 kids total? Yeah, I think 103 kids total. So, but what Robert said was, I'm going to just dedicate my life to raising all these children. So here's it, 26 years old now? You? Okay, so Robert at 26 is raising 55 children by himself, right? So when they started, I just want you to know, these children had nothing, nowhere to sleep, nothing to eat, no chance of education. And Robert reached out to me. And so since then, we have our own nonprofit that is called World Youth Horizons. And we decided there is no they. They aren't going to feed those kids, we will. So working together with Robert, I bought land. We bought land here in Uganda. We built a home. We literally physically built a home. We built a pig farm. We built a goat farm. We planted corn. We planted bananas, potatoes. The kids have electricity. The kids have bathrooms and waters now. They have beds. They have blankets. Thank you. They have clothes and shoes, but let me tell you the most important part. We pay to send them all to school here in Uganda. All these kids, we pay the school fees, we buy them books, backpacks, everything that they need to be in school, because education is their path out. You know what I told Robert yesterday? I said, I will be happy when this home is completely empty, not filled with children, because that means they all got a life. They can all support themselves and take care of themselves. I do want to tell you that, and we have 2 homes in Bombo. Even though we don't live in your country, we're raising 110 of your kids now with the help of Robert and others. If people want to help, so I will say this, there's lots to do, right? To raise these children, there's lots of bills to pay. We have a lot more we want to build. We want to build another home, and we want to raise as many Ugandan children as we can. If people want to help, I'll say this. I don't go out actively fundraise. We're just going to keep paying for it for ourselves. But if there's people in this room that want to make a donation and want to help, Jennifer, will you stand up again, please, just for a sec? Jennifer and Robert both have a QR code on their phones. You can see them afterwards. We're going to do it anyway, okay? But if you help, it just means we can go find more children here and send more children to school. So that's World Youth Horizons. The big thing that we could use in this room help with is we want them to get skills, okay? And we want these kids to get an education, to develop skills, and have a career, to be able to take care of themselves. So a lot of you that are in business and have companies here, our ultimate goal is, one, that you could mentor some of these children and you can connect with us afterwards tonight. 2, that you could hire some of these children. Help them understand what skills to get. We're happy to pay for their education. If you want to help us, you can donate. But we'll get them educated with the right skills. You guys need to hire them, and we need our youth to stay here in Uganda and go out and create in the world. So that's the real goal. We'd love for you to meet the team. The other piece I just wanted to mention that was brought up before was Jennifer came up with this idea, and being honest, we have a lot of, like, we're going to Murchison tomorrow to safari. Right? Today we went up on the Nile on the boat, and we went on Lake Victoria. We just came from the Masai Mara doing some entrepreneurship training, but then honestly, we went on a safari. We have wealthy friends that like going on a safari, right? And Uganda is a great place to do that. But Jennifer had an idea to create service safaris. So what we're going to do is we're going to let these families, we're going to set up tours, and we have a partner that we're on tour with now from the folks from Dimuendo Adventure Tours. Could you please stand up as well? Everybody that's here from Dimuendo, there's more than one of you, stand up. So those are our partners as well. That's a local Ugandan company. We'll let people come over here and go on a family vacation to go safarying, but then we're going to send them over to these homes to visit the children and ask them to make a donation and bring things to contribute to the children of Uganda as well. So if you can help in any way us to create this new service tours company, service safaris, that are part fun and part giving back and serving, please talk to our team afterwards as well. So I'm going to stop there. Again, you guys have made, Uganda has made us like family. You have all been so warm and so welcoming. There's a lot of soft-spoken people here, which we really like. People are warm and friendly, but soft-spoken in a way that you made us feel accepted, right? And the children didn't treat us, the children didn't care that we were white or American. The children cared that somebody cared about them. We want to continue to care about them with you. We want you to be successful in business through Enterprise Uganda, through Gen Uganda, through all these organizations, the banks helping you out with what you need. If all of us pitch together to make everybody in this room very successful, guess what happens? More children and more people in Uganda will have a chance for a better life. Thank you guys very much for coming and spending some time with us today.